Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good things. We have the biggest budget hole in history. Ooh. Government isn't constructive European Union policies because the Prime Minister is literally Germany's envoy. We have something like the American political system. I mean, that comes with a lot of problems. There are two main parties, two parties. KO, Citizen Coalition, EIS, Law and Justice, that are essentially the same and fundamentally do the same thing. We have a welfare. What's the budget? Because Canada's, I think it usually sits around like 50 or 60 billion. We have similar population. What is the budget for Poland for 2025? Well, that budget deficit, I should have said. Give me the better answer. Okay, approximate amount, budget deficit, 72 billion. Total revenues, total expenses. So it's a little higher than what we have here. Um, I know a lot of our current, like, we also kind of have a welfare state. Um, a lot of our deficit is actually caused by, well, one right now we have the trade war with the U.S. Like they still heavily tariff our steel and aluminum, which are some of our biggest exporters to them. They still have massive tariffs on those, which hurts the deficit because then you got to support those sectors. They're targeting the auto sector with tariffs, which is something the government's trying to support here. But then we actually have higher oil revenues right now because of the Strait of Hormuz. Is at least where I live in Alberta, we're seeing like a less of a deficit, not a surplus, less of a deficit. Um, what is Canada's deficit for 2025? I think it was around like 50 or 60 billion. Oh, budget projected deficit for 2025 2026 is 66.9 billion. Oh, very similar to Poland. Our political system, like we primarily have two parties. There are a couple, like the NDP usually gets a couple seats, and then there's a couple seats that'll go to a Quebec specific party. I mean, I was referring to Polish history, not her. Comparison with best, it can be low or medium. I mean, everyone has less of a deficit. U.S. being the global reserve currency allows them to run such a higher deficit. There's a couple weird countries like Japan is really weird with how they run their deficit because like their deficits with their own banks and people, and they do something. I know, but like Japan's about to have some pretty big issues with their deficit. Um, I don't know what's gonna happen there. There are some worrying signs. They were they kept their rate so low for so long that it kind of became like the bank of the world. where people would take loans out in yen, fuel their deficit, take the money over to like China or the US, somewhere where they get better returns, and then use that money. And that all works until Japan starts to raise their interest rate, which they've begun to do. And so that whole system's about to get a shakeup, which is going to be interesting. Like, that's going to affect the global economy. I didn't finish this comment. I asked about best Polish healthcare system and its problem. I mean, like, we've got enough issues with our own healthcare system. Oh gosh, the healthcare system. I mean, do you guys have uh does Poland have a single payer healthcare system? How does it do compared to Canada? That's literally joke. Need to wait for operations like a couple of years. I mean, ours isn't that great. It's under a lot of strain. Like, a lot of people talk about the the aging population, right? And the pressures that's going to put on our economies. Nobody's done anything about it. Like, we keep talking about this problem that's going to happen. The problem's here. No solutions have been proposed for how to fix it. Why have we not looked at solution? You're saying that I should not invest with Japanese companies. Noted. I mean, I wouldn't put it into the Japanese stock market. I mean, the yen carry trade for the longest time was like a free money glitch in real life for banking institutions that could take advantage of it. Like an average investor couldn't do this, but large institutions could, and they did in mass. Like, you would be shocked how much money was taken out as debt in Japan in order to fuel, because Japan had no interest rate. They were zero. Take infinite money and then go take it elsewhere. Okay, let's have a look here. Poland operates a single payer system, so just like Canada, although it's structured differently than Canada's. Well, Canada's uses a TAC-funded model. Okay. The government pays for private and public delivery. Poland uses a national health fund funded by a compulsory social insurance contribution. No idea how that differs. Okay, model, gatekeeping, coverage, universal for those paying into the system, universal for all residents and citizens. Oh, so you have to... Well, I assume this is something that's like a job. On your job, you have to pay into the social insurance. So it's kind of like health coverage for those in an occupation. Funded by a compulsory social insurance. Do you have to pay this if you don't work? How do they compare wait times? Poland has significantly improved in specific areas. Poland's wait times for cataract surgery dropped significantly, outperforming, however, for complex procedures like hip replacements. My mom had to get one of those. Poland's median wait time can still exceed, that's a year. Often longer than Canada. I mean, like, a little over half a year. Still not good. But like, that's still horrible. Canada generally outranks Poland in global healthcare industry. I will interrupt, but I thought AI better than ChatGPT. Gemini kind of look better than ChatGPT. For me, it was the guy behind ChatGPT. Founder guy, I don't like him. And so I try a bunch of them, and usually I just move once I use up all my allotted free time with this. But this is kind of how I've ranked them so far. I like Claude, Gemini, Chat. I haven't Grok up here because I haven't played with that one too. The one thing I will say with Claude, really good, but if you use voice mode, it does that whole thing where it tries to talk to you as a person. I hate that. If you use Windows 11, you can just hit Windows H, and this little doohickey shows up. You could set select default microphone. I've only got one right now plugged in. And then you could just use this to record your voice and ask questions. So you don't have to use its dumb voice. I hope they'll fix that at some point. I'm not gonna wait on it. I mean, the Windows H works really well. But yeah, Claude so far is the one that I've been liking them. That, and honestly, Gemini has been really. All right, let's get back to it. What is everyday life in war-torn Ukraine like? In this small town right next to the war front.
Like many here, Vasil and Tatiana Hrushka live off the land.
When I wrote my master's thesis, well, so you graduated from university then? Nice. I mean, I graduated a long time ago before these chatbots were a thing. I didn't do a master's. I just did an undergrad. But I mean, how do you not use? It's so good when used properly to collect information. Like I know people that they like use it for everything, and they kind of become like dependent on it because you can get it to essentially just like write whatever you want. But if you use it as a tool to like learn and acquire and gather information, it's so good at it. What was your master's on anyway?
This is where our garden begins. The greenhouse we built. Do you want to see it? I'll show you.
So they still have
We sold a cow in the first year of the war and bought the greenhouse. We can't survive.
There's like more than half their power capacity has been removed, right? Yeah, I wrote this when ChatGPT was still in version 4.0. It was very helpful for writing such a long page. I mean, I have always hated like essay writing and stuff like that. That has always sucked. But it was useful for finding the right books, especially since the topic was sometimes very complex. I mean, absolutely. The topic was smuggling people across the Polish border. So you went into an in-depth look on that, huh? I thought Poland was one of the countries that had a stronger immigration restriction. Like, wasn't Poland the one I was looking at when there was like yeah, I hid on the Belarusian border and watched them. Really? That's crazy. Because you're Belarus Right there, huh? And so you have an issue with people coming from Belarus, which is very Russian aligned, with a dictator. And so you have an issue with people coming across into Poland. I just read the books. Oh, okay. Just find the resources, read the books. I'm about to say. Because sometimes, who was it? Like Andrew Callahan on YouTube. Didn't he he went to the U.S. Mexican border and like tried to cross as an immigrant would? I got picked up by Border Patrol. I got stuck in one of the facilities for a while. Oh, I like that video. Okay, what is this? No idea why you open. So, their power has been affected. They've lost about half of their power capacity. I wonder if the frontline towns still
Survive
even have
without it.
power.
These are the first tomatoes and peppers of this year. Dill, parsley, cabbage. We grow everything here.
Beside the garden, they have
If you ask me if this guy is Russian or Ukrainian, I wouldn't be able to tell you the difference. I have no idea how this conflict seemed to start from two countries that were seemingly so similar culturally and like historically, and somehow they've turned into a grinding attrition war. I have no idea how that happened. I mean, I live close to that border, I'll do that, but let's be real, I just researched court records about people who were convicted with smuggling people. Let me say, there's a lot of them. Mostly Ukrainians and Belarusians. I mean, I could see that. How does the Ukraine-Polish border work? Because in the beginning of the war, like there was a flood of refugees, right, coming out of Ukraine. People that were like, in the beginning, the war looked like it might end quickly. So a lot of them were leaving, and the friendly nation to do that through was Poland. Like, how many Ukrainians are currently in Poland? How many Ukrainians are currently in Poland? And how many Ukrainians have fled Ukraine from the war? Around 90% foreigners convicted. Yeah. I mean, it's rare to see someone from the country convicted of smuggling people into the country. It's usually something that's someone who's gone through the smuggling process themselves end up the smugglers. There are currently approximately, so Ukraine had just under 40 million. I mean, Poland had under 40 million. And there's 1.55 million Ukrainians legally registered in Poland. That's a lot. Led the full-scale invasion and those who are already living in the country for work and study. Just under a million. Temporary protection status. I mean, that's gone on for 5 years already. Among those with temporary protection, roughly 83% are women and children. That makes sense. That was the group that was going to run, right? Usually the men stay and join the military, and the women and children are the ones that end up as refugees. Poland has seen high levels of economic integration, with over 1.3 million foreigners registered in the Polish social insurance system at the start of 2026. Global replacement statistic: 6.2 million Refugees in Europe, 5.9 million. Internally displaced within Ukraine, 3.7 million. So this is probably from like the occupied regions, people that have fled. Total fled over 8 million. And this has been for 5 years. You've set up a new life somewhere in that time. Ukrainians enjoy a privileged position in our country and, in fact, have never had a problem entering our country after the war. They primarily smuggle people across the Belarusian border. Oh, currently we also have a problem with Germany, as German service smuggle illegal migrants into our lands. Yeah, from my understanding, like German has a much more open borders process. So if you want to get to Poland, go to Germany and then get across the border, even though legally it's a relocation system. Migrants register in the later countries back there. Yeah, I heard like Poland, isn't that one of the countries more tough on immigration in the EU, from my understanding? Like, I think the shift that we've seen in the US, Trump becoming far more like anti-immigration, essentially. I think that's going to cause a shift in a lot of countries, because I think there's more people that agree with that stance than you would think, and want a major nation essentially toughens their borders. Then you're going to see a lot of nations follow that route, at least for illegal immigrants, which is what Trump's primarily pushing against. And so I think we're going to see that in a lot of European. And I mean, we already see this in Canada. Like, Carney has reduced immigration targets from Trudeau's era, and I expect the immigration targets will continue to come down. How many illegal immigrants are there in Poland? Like, do you guys have an issue with that as well? I know in Canada, because we have the oceans, our issue is not people coming illegally. They'll come legally on a visa, and then when they essentially overstay the visa and they don't leave. And that's the biggest issue we have here. Being it means when it leaks. First registered, okay. And we need to expel them legally. Our country, 1 month. Not expelled with border guards. Note that he needs to leave our country, and that's it. Yeah, we have a problem, and no one talks about it loud. Of course, we got the same issue. Like, you see with Trump and ICE that they're enforcing their immigration law. In Canada, we have a problem with not enforcing our immigration law. Not that the immigration law itself is a problem, it's the lack of enforcement. People come, they overstay their visa, and there's no repercussion. There's no cop showing up at your door trying to deport you. So, like, what's the point of having an immigration system when you don't you don't enforce the immigration. So yeah, I get it. Although, like they are making changes from my opinion, at least in Canada on that. They're starting to as public sentiment shifts. And I think like as much as I don't really like Trump's approach to immigration, he has shifted the Overton window. As that shifts, we're seeing far more people come out about a more just um, like an enforced immigration. Current estimates. Let's have a look. I kind of just want a number. Not going to give me a number, is it? Current estimates and enforcement trends. While there is no single official census, undocumented individuals, recent enforcement actions provide a baseline. Forced deportations in 2025, Poland's border guards forcibly removed 2,100 foreign nationals for illegal stay, lack of valid permits. This was a significant increase compared to 2024. I mean, that's still for a whole year. I feel like that's a low number, reflecting zero tolerance policy. Irregular crossing, Belarus border. Yeah. Following the completion of the 187-kilometer steel barrier? An enhanced sensor system? You guys have a steel barrier? Forward. See this. Polish and Belarusian border steel barrier. I assume those people are not always there, and they're just there for their photo shoot. But that's quite a setup. I mean, offenses don't do a whole lot other than like the mental deterrent of we don't want people here. But if that's along the whole border, that's quite an undertaking. Like that stops zombies at least coming over. I think Canada. Yes, we have a comment. Now we'll talk about it, but I think Canada has one advantage: you can change your government at least. We are in EU structures, and there's always legal disputes. That is weird because, like, in a way, inside the EU, countries function kind of like states. You don't, from my understanding of it, you don't have the full control that a normal country would. You have overriding EU legislation, which is largely like pro-immigrant, from my understanding. Although I did look into that, and there was indications that was shifting. If not becoming anti-immigrant, to at least giving countries more authority. Like they were starting to allow things like, or they were pushing to allow things like having refugees or immigrants stay in their country until they've been processed before bringing them over and stuff like that. So I think we are seeing a shift there as well. There's always legal disputes. European law is more important than the Constitution. They're saying that the EU law kind of like a federal law over a state. The EU law is the one that overrides. Democrats and leftists say that's true. So changing the government don't solve the problem. Like, yeah, like I mean, you're kind of stuck in the issue of the state You change your state government, but the EU federal government kind of gets to set the overriding laws. The zero tolerance policy is also a law. Yeah, I remember reading that. Steel barriers and enhanced sensor system. Illegal crossings at the Belarusian border. So you have a lot of crossings at the Belarus border. Yeah, we have steel barriers built by PIS, so that's one of your government. Because Lukashenko, president of Belarus, pushed illegal migrants for our border. Did he push people? Like he's trying to push migrants? Is that kind of like when you hear in the US, them shipping illegal immigrants from Texas up to New York? You're the ones that vote for the illegal immigrants here. Have some. But when that barrier works, we take legal immigrants just like that. Because they're legal. And that's a lot of holes with the barrier. Yeah. Like, we have the picture here. But there's no way you have people standing there like that all the time. With that long of a border, you can't do that. So there's definitely going to be holes. There's a lot of holes. Constant attacks are causing migrants to break through. And we don't have enough people to constantly monitor the border. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So it seems like you're having a lot of the same issues that the US is going through with their southern border, except the US now has a very very anti-immigration president. So the federal system, which is kind of like the EU, has turned very anti-immigration, which is allowing the states to be more rigorous in deportations, but also in preventing people from coming here. Because I hear now that Trump sent all these like over the top immigration, like, what do you call it, mandates, or they had to get rid of so many people, and like so many people a year or so many people a month, and not Biden. Who was before that? They're the one Democrat politician, Barack Obama. Obama was known as the deporter in chief, but he was the deporter in chief because so many people came to the border. And now that Trump's there, they have very few people coming to the border, and they're trying to match Obama's numbers when they don't have the people coming to the border. And Obama's numbers were all because so many people were at the border that it was easy to get high numbers, because they'd walk over the border and you send them back. And so now Trump's trying to get his numbers by being very aggressive with ICE. That's having some side effects. Very interesting issue. I recommend so-called Operation. Grab that. Operation Sluza, developed even before Belarus and Russia began cooperating. The idea was that Belarus wanted to force membership in the European Union by smuggling masses of illegal immigrants across the European Union, Poland's eastern border. This then escalated into a hybrid war orchestrated by Russia and Belarus, which specifically advertised passage into the European Union. So when you're talking about immigrants at your Belarus and Polish border, are these Belarusians coming across, or are these people from like the Middle East and other places in the world that are brought to Belarus and then tried to send across the border. I don't know how to put that little thing above. Through the Belarusian border and even paid for their flights. Oh, so then these are people from elsewhere. Then Belarus has pushed them to the border and allowed them to cross into. They're from the Middle East. Advertised cheap flights to Belarus, crossing across Polish border in their country. Really? So then this is like a specific tactic they are employing. Operation Sluza is a code name for a long-running hybrid warfare strategy allegedly developed by the Belarusian and Russian intelligence services. Primary goal is to destabilize the European Union, specifically Poland, Lithuania, and Latvia, by weaponizing irregular migration. Origin and strategy. This operation was originally conceptualized as early as 2010-2011 by the Belarusian KGB. OSMA logic is to open the sluice gate of the border. I mean, I now understand the seal fence. When they're literally running an operation to put illegal immigrants into your country, allowing or actively facilitating the flow of migrants from the Middle East and Africa into EU territory to create a political and humanitarian crisis. Instrumentation. Unlike natural immigration, this operation involves the state actively bringing people to Minsk via state-sponsored travel agency and then transporting them to the border under supervised Belarusian armed forces. The operation became internally known in the late 2021 when thousands of migrants were pushed towards the Polish border. This forced Poland to declare a state of emergency and begin to construct a permanent steel barrier, which we've seen. As of May 2026, the effect of Operation Sluza continued to shape Poland's national security policy, buffer zones, geopolitical. The operation is widely cited by security analysts as a prime example of demographic weaponry, using human beings as tools of political pressure to force concessions or weaken the territorial integrity of a rival state. I mean, that's crazy. So Belarus and their they're trying to destabilize the EU, primarily Poland, Lithuania, and Latvia. Active format. So the three that they're on the border of. What is this tiny little? That would be a very strange place to live right there. Do people live there? I don't know. I don't see any town. Oh, there is a town there. That would be a very strange town to live in Lithuania. I wonder if they've got steel barriers too. Wouldn't they have to? They know well that irregular migration is causing the collapse of civilization. Don't worry, Germany, France, Spain, and Great Britain brought this about through legal immigration. There's no need for operation. I mean, Canada's got a pretty high immigration rate too. Don't know what it is, but that spot. That's a very that's a I think that's a pretty bad spot to live. I want to see that spot on Google Maps. Just like see if I can drop. Oh. Oh. I live. Poland. We got Belarus. And we got this very sad little town down here. Let's see. Oh. Come on. On me. Come on. Because I'm uploading the stream to too many places. Oh, a little Lithuanian town. Farming village. Not a nice place. Oh, look at that. Nice place to sit. They have the same garbage collection has been pretty much figured out for the entire developed world. We got the exact same stuff here. I mean, there's still people here. I bet you they're happy they ended up on the Lithuanian side of that border. Can I see it? See the actual border. Just looks like farmland. Like, is there a border checkpoint? Is that what I'm approaching here? There is. Oh. I mean, you could just go into the farmland around the border checkpoint. Oh, can't read Polish. Ain't gonna help me at all. Yeah, checkpoint. Poland and Belarus. They don't have no steel barrier there, that's for sure though. Yeah, oh boy. My space, I need to go sleep, so sorry because we had a very nice conversation. Yeah, well you have a good night, man. Lithuania literally like Poland. We are brothers, but it's a funny thing. We share a lot of common history. And we was Polish-Lithuania Commonwealth. Now we are not in such close relationship. Oh yeah, there was a time there was the Polish-Lithuania Commonwealth. Used to cover a lot of this. Yeah. Great. Well, you have a good night, man. I should probably try and get back to what I was doing.